Hey guys, so welcome to Digit.in, and today we're going to be reviewing a second Dell XPS 15 for you. This one comes with an Intel i7 processor, 16 gigs of onboard RAM, 512 GB of NVMe storage, and the same NVIDIA GTX 1050 Ti that's there on the higher spec variant. In terms of connectivity, it offers the same ports as the higher end variant of the XPS 15. What you get is an HDMI 2.0 port, a USB 3 port, a Thunderbolt port, and an SD card reader. In case you feel that's not enough connectivity options, you can always get yourself a Thunderbolt dock, which will give you far more options in terms of ports. So with that said, let's go ahead and figure out if this machine is right for you or not. First, let's talk about the design. Now, the design of the Dell XPS has come a very long way. The new XPS 15 is built out of a solid block of aluminum and has carbon fiber for the keyboard island and the palm rest. While it makes the laptop a whole lot sturdier, interestingly, it does not make it any lighter. On the inside, you get very narrow bezels for the display. The consequence of the narrow bezels, unfortunately, is that the webcam Dell has placed at the bottom of the display, which means people who you video call with are going to get a good look up your nostrils. Now, design-wise, the Dell XPS reeks of elegance. It's very minimal, it's very classy looking, and honestly, it's one of the nicest looking laptops in my personal opinion. This is not an objective opinion, but yes, I've been a fan of the Dell XPS machines for a long time, and this design shows how far Dell has come in terms of refining their top of the line computing hardware. Now, since we spoke about the bezels in the design section, let's talk about the display itself. Dell offers a 1080p display with 100% sRGB coverage with an anti-reflective coating, or basically a matte display. It's an IPS LCD panel and it does not offer any touch capabilities. There is also 99% of sRGB gamut coverage, which we verified using a spider color checker. In terms of the brightness of the machine, the display is not as bright as the display on the i9 variant. However, it is still very bright, especially if you want to use it outdoors. But there is one slight problem. There is a variance of about 18% in brightness across the display. That means in the center, if your display is at 100 nits, the edges would be about 18% less bright. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because honestly, in real life usage, until I ran the spider tests on this, we did not even notice that there was this issue of brightness variance. Now, the color accuracy of the display right out of the box was not top notch, but after calibrating it once with the spider, we got the delta E levels to about 2, so that's pretty amazing. And for editing photos, it's a very good display, especially because the anti-reflective coating means there are no obstructions, there are no weird highlight blobs appearing on this machine because of a tube light or a bulb. So that's a very good addition to this machine. Now let's talk about the performance. The performance is the real highlight of the XPS 15. The i7 chip manages to sustain its clock speeds and its turbo boost clock for far longer than the i9 variant. It gives more consistent and sustained performance than we noticed on the i9, and even then it's still not as good as the i9. This machine took about 2 minutes and 10 seconds to just export 50 images. The i9 variant in that regard only took 1 minute 11 seconds. In terms of CPU compute tasks, it's not as good as the i9, and if you're going to be running programs that require heavy CPU usage and heavy CPU loads, you may be still better off with the i9, even though it throttles. Now, coming to video editing, there was actually no issues because we use Premiere and Premiere supports CUDA core. So even when we pulled in 4K footage, there was no issue with editing it on the timeline. There was no problem with exporting it either. And interestingly, it did take far longer to render a 4K H.265 10-minute footage than they did on the i9. But that's alright, you've got a lower grade of a processor, so that is expected. If you compare this machine with its counterparts, which have similar spec, the Dell XPS 15 is definitely neck and neck with everybody out there. And given its classier design and much better finish, this may seem like a better option for some of you out there. Now, the NVIDIA GTX 1050 Ti is by no means a pro gamer's card. It's not something that you would want to, take into an esports match with you. But for anybody who's into casual gaming or even takes a lot of interest in gaming like I do, I play games at least 2 to 3 hours a day, and I was actually very happy with the performance of this machine. Locked 60 FPS on Doom in ultra settings at 1080p, 60 frames per second locked in Metro Low Light, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Deus Ex Mankind, Forza Horizon 4, and even the new Darksiders 3. All the games run smooth, there is no stutter, and there is no hang even when the loading screens are taking their time to load the maps. And thanks to the NVMe storage, levels load a lot faster than they would if you had installed the games on a traditional hard drive. So all in all, the performance leaves very little room for complaint, especially when you see the price difference between the i9 variant and the i7 variant. It's almost 80,000 rupees. So let's conclude this review of the Dell XPS 15. Let's look at all the things that it's good for. It's great for gaming, casual gaming. Even if you're a serious gamer, you can pick this up. At least you'll get 60 FPS on all your favorite games. It's great for photo and video editing, so which means any creative professional can pick this up, whether you work in Illustrator, CorelDRAW, whatever, It's great for basically anybody who needs a machine with enough power to do whatever it is that they would require it. And given that my old Dell XPS 15, which I bought in 2010, till today is functional, and I can use it as a daily work machine 8 years later, means that this laptop would also have decent longevity. 3 years minimum, 4 years should not be a problem. So if you're not looking for something that's got intense gaming power, if you don't need the processing power, maybe you should just skip this. $1.5 lakh is not a small amount. But yes, if you can't afford the i9, because if you want the i9, you also have to get the 4K touch display, and if you can't fork out that kind of cash, you can always just go for the i7 variant of the Dell XPS 15, which will give you impressive performance. And the best thing is that even though the i7 does not match the performance of the i9, the i7 is still able to maintain a sustained higher clock speed, and it's able to maintain its turbo clock for longer than the i9 is. So if you're the kind who cares, oh, how long am I getting my turbo clock for, this will give you more of it. So in that regard, it's a great machine, and plus it offers room for upgrades. Since this comes with 16 GB of RAM and a 512 GB NVMe drive, you can upgrade the RAM to 32 because there's an empty slot in there, and you can also upgrade the NVMe storage from 512 to a terabyte. So thank you guys for watching this video. In case you liked it, make sure to leave us a comment below in the section, and in case you didn't like it, tell us what it is that you didn't like. Maybe share this video with your friends, families, anybody looking to buy a new laptop. And if you just want more technology coverage, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Thank you guys for watching.
For the latest technology updates, subscribe to Digit.in and don't forget to hit the bell icon.